Okay, next up is Katie from CSU's Off-Campus Life. So,
Hello and good morning, everyone. My name, as he introduced me as, is Katie. My title position officially is the Community Liaison Student Coordinator for the Office of Off-Campus Life at CSU. It's going to be interesting. I graduate next week, so I don't know if students really going to be in my title position after that. So today I'm actually here presenting on behalf of Emily Allen, who serves as the Community Liaison for the City of Fort Collins and Colorado State University. Her title position as community liaison is to help build relationships between CSU students and the community of Fort Collins. So we do that through city relations, neighbor relations, and landlord relations. We really, as an office and as an entity of CSU in the city, encourage students to be smart and responsible while they're living in the Fort Collins community. Emily often comments that she sees Fort Collins almost as a training ground for these students so that they have this city with all of these rules and regulations that aren't quite as harsh or I guess as harsh, I guess, as other communities out there in the country. So we're really trying to provide this training ground for students to kind of get their feet under them, learn what it means to be a good neighbor, learn what it means to be a good community member, and then send them off into the world after they're done here at CSU, should they choose to do that. We also want to provide services to help connect you all as landlords with our services that we offer in the Office of Off-Campus Life and with Emily's services in the city. So some of those resources include, I don't know how many of you have heard about the event called Community Welcome that happens that first Wednesday of classes in August. A little bit about that. Community Welcome is a service that we've had for the last, I want to say about 11 years now, where we have CSU students that meet up with Fort Collins Police, CSU Police, city officials, and CSU staff. And they go out into the communities that are primarily filled with new student renters, but also mixed with long-term residents. And we give them the opportunity to meet their neighbors. We're really trying to encourage students as they're moving in to get to know their neighbors, to be good community members. So one of the resources that we help provide with that is this community welcome brochure. In this brochure, we talk about different city codes and ordinances that the students moving into these houses might not be aware of, city resources that they might find helpful, and et cetera, et cetera. I do believe we have a PDF of this on the Off-Campus Life website, so if you guys are interested in checking that out, absolutely that's a good resource for you. Another great resource that we have that is accessible to all of you as landlords is our student handbook. I unfortunately don't have enough copies for everyone here today, but we do have a PDF version on the Off-Campus Life website. In here, we talk about all sorts of things. We talk about city codes and ordinances, how to get along with your landlord, where to look for utilities, if you're looking to get a pet, how to do that. So really, we're trying to give the students basically a step-by-step guide of how to live successfully in the city of Fort Collins as community members. We update the handbook every year with new information. We have all sorts of ads in here. If you guys wanted to create an ad to place with us to put in the handbook that's seen by thousands of students, and it's also handed out to various community efforts as well. So it's not only CSU students that are seeing these advertisements, but it's seen kind of nationally as well. We have a lot of programs with the Off-Campus Life office that is seen nationally. So this is another great resource that I definitely recommend you guys check out if you have an opportunity to. Another fun kind of resource that we have for students to encourage them and educate them is we actually provide decks of cards, playing cards that have information on them about city codes and ordinances, information about alcohol consumption, how to be safe about things like that. These are a huge hit on campus, as you can probably imagine. We have these handed out at various activities as well. We talk about information on how to get in contact with landlords and city officials on various things. So definitely another great resource that we offer for students. We really try to be intentional, especially with first-year students, on the message of your actions have impact. We definitely recognize that students don't always think of they usually just think of just themselves. So we're really trying to encourage the mindset that students should think about what happens off campus as well as on campus. So in relation to living off campus, we really try to encourage to think about your landlord, think about your neighbor, think about, all of these things rather than just yourself, because your actions have impact. What happens off campus carries on to the consequences that could happen on campus. So to kind of help emphasize this and get the messaging out and make it something that's more, tangible for students to see, is we create these microfibers, so little cleaning cloths to clean your glasses or computer screens, things like that, with the messaging of your actions have impact. And on the back, we talk about the great ways to be a good neighbor. I do have enough of these for everyone. If you're interested, I'm happy to leave them afterwards with a business card. But we've really had a hit with these as well. We've actually had other offices around CSU and even some other schools around the country pick up on this idea, just because it's something tangible they can hold. It's a reminder, and it's a great, fun little microfiber. Another great resource that we have, and please slow me down if I'm going too fast. I get nervous and I kind of talk a little fast sometimes. We have what's called this Art of Neighboring Brochure. So with events such as Community Welcome, we provide this brochure, which is actually, it's a 3-folds brochure that students can fill out as they move into the neighborhoods with information about their name, what their major is, if they have any pets, if they have any kids, what year they are, etc. And you can actually tear them out and then hand them out to your neighbors. So we always encourage students as they're moving in. It's so important to get to know your neighbors, because as soon as you know your neighbors, you're building that community, you have those people to call. Your neighbors are more likely to call you than they would be police if you're throwing, a Friday night party. So we're really just trying to encourage students to get to know your neighbors, be a good tenant, and use our resources to do that. Another program that we have with the Office of Off-Campus Life. How many of you, just with a show of hands, have heard of the party registration program? Okay, good, a lot of you. So for those of you who don't know about it, I'll just be very brief. The party registration program, its inception was in 2009, and it is a program where students can come into the Off-Campus Life office, and community members can go to the Neighborhood Services office, and they can register their Friday or Saturday parties. So what they do is they provide us with their name, the address, a phone number for us to for dispatch to contact, as well as an alternative number if the first number doesn't work. What happens then is on Friday or Saturday night, if the tenant's party is getting too loud, dispatch will have their information, and they will call that first number and let them know you have 20 minutes to shut down your party. Your neighbors have called and said you're too loud. If that first number doesn't answer, they call the second number and they'll leave a voicemail. What's great about this program is we have seen a significant decrease in noise tickets and nuisance gathering tickets, because students are using this, oh shoot, I only have 20 minutes to break down my party. I'd rather do that than wait for the police to come and get a noise ticket. So it's been really great. We've had 97.3, I think, is the percentage of parties that have not received any citations since the inception of the program. So we've seen really great numbers in terms of how successful this program is. And we're really trying to encourage students on making those smart decisions. So the question was if the program is only for Friday and Saturday night events, and the answer is no. We actually offer some holidays as well. So today is Cinco de Mayo, so that is a common drinking day for college students. So we offered a registration for today, even though today is not on a Friday or Saturday. We also allow students and community members to register their 4th of July parties, New Year's Eve, Halloween, St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo. I think it's just those 5 holidays. So no matter if that holiday falls on a Friday or Saturday or not, we allow them to register for those days as well. Yeah, so the question was if the party is just on a random Monday or Tuesday, you can't register that party, and that is correct. We know that it's more likely to be an issue for noise on Fridays and Saturdays rather than on Mondays or Tuesdays or any other day really during the week if it's not a special holiday or thing like that. So we really just try to encourage Friday and Saturday night parties just because we know those are more common. Some other great resources that the Office of Off-Campus Life can offer you all. How many of you, by show of hands, have heard of the rental search system? Okay, one of you. Congratulations. Thank you. The rental search system is the way that we kind of describe it in the office is it's a Craigslist for CSU students in terms of finding housing and roommates. So you all as landlords have the opportunity to go onto this rental search site and create a landlord account. Once you create a landlord account, you are able to then upload postings of vacant rentals that you have for CSU students to find if you're wanting to rent to them. Students then looking for housing can go on and search for 3-bedroom house, 2-bathroom, vacant rental available in August, and your listing will come up and they're able to find you then to rent from you. Students are also able, as students with an EID and password, to go on and search for people who have also posted that they're available roommates. So if my friend Becky and I are looking for a third roommate to fill your vacant house, we're able to do that through the rental search site. We can find housing and roommates. So that is a free service for you all if you're interested. The URL is just rentalsearch.colostate.edu. You can also find it through the Off-Campus Life website on the business card that I can leave behind as well. The final kind of piece, I guess, that I could talk about is the housing fair that we host. Every year we host a housing fair spring semester. This year it happened to be on Wednesday, February 10th. In the past we had traditionally hosted it in March, but we found that because some of these larger apartment complexes are starting to push for renters a lot sooner in November and December, that students are starting to feel the pressure. And so we wanted to offer them different resources other than signing with those big complexes. We wanted to give them the opportunity to find the smaller landlords or find the smaller apartment complexes and give them the chance to kind of meet these people in person, to get to know them, to know that, you know, it's okay to take time before you sign your lease. That's actually a campaign that we have going through the university. So we start that around November. We encourage students to take time before they sign their lease so they're not signing into something that they're really, you know, not wanting 5 months from now when Becky isn't my best friend anymore. So just thinking about that, we offer advertisements that you can put within, like advertisements you can put on the rental search site as well as within the housing fair information. So if you all were interested in providing an ad for us, we'd be happy to advertise with you. I unfortunately don't know quite the logistics of that. That's not something that I handle within the office, within my position. But my supervisor, Nancy, is happy to take on those questions. And she could be reached through the number on the business card that I'm going to leave behind. That's kind of off-campus life in a nutshell, very quickly, I know. I'm happy to take questions if any of you, want some more clarification on anything I mentioned. Yes? The question was if our services are open for Front Range college students. The answer is yes. So the rental search site specifically, we ask that students use their EID and password to log in, and that's specific to CSU students just because the site is paid for with student fees, but we work with Front Range to provide that for their students. So they're able to access that site to find landlords as well. Mm-hmm. Sure. So the question was if the larger complexes are kind of in, I guess, our face in terms of finding students to rent. The answer is yes. They are advertising on campus, and they do. So the Office of Off-Campus Life is located on the main floor of the Laurie Student Center, right next to the bookstore, and right across from what's called the flea market, which is a space that people can rent out to advertise, sponsor different things like that. So we do see those larger apartment complexes just right outside our door during a high lease signing time. Something that Emily and I created last summer was a student-focused housing session that we hosted last July, and we're actually looking to host again this July. So what that was we hosted all of the major apartment complexes in Fort Collins, such as the District, the Grove, the Summit on College, Aspen Heights, things like that. We all hosted them in the same room so that they had the opportunity to meet each other, and then we provided them with a lot of information that they weren't aware of or just needed some more clarification on in terms of city codes and ordinances, we pushed that we were really encouraging students not to sign so early. And so I think getting our messaging out there to them has definitely helped. A lot of them took our information and bumped it up to the CEO of the corporation, such as like Aspen Heights Corporation, to get that information out there to them, so they know that we're not okay with them pushing for students to sign as early as August, which is what we've seen in the past. So the question was, why don't we want the students to sign so early? And the answer to that is because we know how indecisive students are. So take, for example, me and my friend Becky. If my friend Becky and I are really great friends in August and we sign a lease together, but then by December we have a falling out, I'm legally locked into that lease with Becky, and I can't change that. Sometimes apartment complexes or property management companies, they don't allow for subletters. So I would not be able to break that lease with Becky, and I'd have to live with her, even though her and I were having issues by the time December rolled around, since we signed our lease in August. The question was if we'd be moving in December. No, technically a lot of the leases for students start August 1st usually, but since apartment complexes are encouraging students to sign those leases a whole year earlier than when they're moving in, yes. So you would just be locked into that lease a whole year earlier than when you're really ready to go. So we're really trying to encourage students to wait until spring semester, so February, March, April, to wait to sign those leases, so that specifically, yes, Becky and I are going to be okay living together 3 months from now in August. Right. So is your question if we have resources that we could provide students? Yes. We have a class that's offered through our office as well. It's called a first-time homebuyers class. So realistically, when they take this class, they used to get a certificate that said, we've been approved for buying a house, we've taken this class, we know the rules and regulations and the stipulations of doing so. I think, honestly, we've discussed in the office of having a resource similar to that to provide for students that they could bring to the landlord that they're wanting to sign with, saying that, yes, I do know this information, I do know about city codes and ordinances, I do know about being a good neighbor, and I can present these to you when I'm wanting to sign a lease with you to show that, yes, I'm going to be a good tenant. So we've definitely discussed resources such as that for students to be provided. Yeah, so the question was if a student signs a lease, if they're locked into that lease for the year, even if they aren't able to live in the property. The answer is technically yes, because a lease is a legally binding contract. Unfortunately, the student would be locked into that lease. Depending on, obviously, the lease that they sign, some landlords are willing to allow for that student to sublet, to find someone else to fill their spot on the lease to pay the rent. Some apartment complexes and landlords don't allow subletters, so the student would still be responsible for paying those bills even if they're not living in the house. Yeah, so she commented on how she's able to let students off the lease if they need to, which is definitely a positive in terms of a lot of private landlords or smaller property management companies and apartment complexes. It's usually the larger apartment complexes that have issues with releasing that lease to another student to take it over. They're just hoping, definitely, they don't want to be obviously left out of this rent money, so they're making sure that they're locked in with this, which is also why a lot of landlords and property management companies have the students have a co-signer. So usually they're parents, so they have that proof of income to prove to the landlord, yes, even though I can't live here, my parents can cover the rent for me. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I will leave some microfibers and business cards behind, so if any of you have questions after this, sometimes I know after a presentation you might as I walk out of the room, be like, oh, shoot, I forgot to ask that question. Feel free to email our office, call us directly. Again, my name is Katie if you want to speak with me personally. My boss, Emily Allen, is, again, the community liaison who I'm presenting for today. So anything kind of more on the city side that she could answer, she'd be happy to as well.